a Lisa on your heart. I took a Lisa on your heart. Can I release that Lisa bar? Can I release that Lisa bar? Can I release that Lisa bar?
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty domination. What is going on, everybody? We got a little bit of a fast episode for you. We're both a little busy this week, but we're still not going to skip on the content. I promise you that. With that being said, I'm going to kick it over to Dan. What do we got coming for them this week?
Okay, this week we're going to talk about a rookie. We're each going to pick a rookie from each round, and these are guys that we're pretty hot on right now. We went through and we did the bracket. We've talked about metrics and kind of the film, college production. Now we're focusing more on what the NFL team makeup means for these rookies, and we're looking for a couple of guys that we think have higher potential, maybe even higher than what they're currently valued at. So that's basically it, man. That's the long short of it.
Yeah, so I'm excited. Let's do it.
All right, man. I'm going to do this. Go Fish worked out last week, so yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and get you. Do you got any? You got any wide receivers, man?
I do. I have one. So yeah, let's get into it. It's Jaden Reed. Homer alert.
Oh shit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Jaden Reed of the Green Bay Packers. So here's the deal. His ADP right now is the 209. So like the late second, even in big leagues, like 12-team leagues, that's still considered late second. And I like the player, but honestly, I have no idea if Green Bay is going to be good. If Love can ball, then on paper, it's pretty spicy with all these young kids. But if he can't, then it's going to fall apart really quick. So it's not necessarily about Reed even. He's a great player, hell of a route runner. I'm into him. But I just want to talk about opportunity, folks, because say it with me, Jaden Reed is a day one starter. Here's the current Packers depth chart. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Samari Toure, 7th round 2022 pick, Datavian Wicks, 5th round rookie pick this year, Grant DeBose, 7th round rookie pick this year, Jeff Cotton, Malik Heath, Bo Melton, Deuce Watts, and Jadakiss Bonds. I don't even know if that's how you say it, but that's how it's spelled. I'm sure that's not, but that's how I went because it's a better 90s reference. So nobody on that roster is going to be able to beat out Jaden Reed, with the exception of maybe Toure, just because he's been there and he looked all right on his 9 catches last year. So like nobody is there. So Reed is a day one starter. They've already committed to like letting all these rookies play. So can you say the same for the wide receivers taken directly in front of Reed? Rashee Rice, Marvin Mims, or even the guys directly after him, Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, Tank Dell. No, those guys are going to be like, maybe they'll see the field a little bit this year. Most likely not. With Reed, you're going to be able to decide on Reed after year one if you think he's worth rostering. He's going to see a ton of playing time. He's going to be on the field like a starter. You're going to see him. And not to mention the role that he plays, the slot role, the guys that played that role for Green Bay aren't even there this season. Randall Cobb and Amari Rodgers were those two guys. They're both gone. Toure took 9 targets from the slot last season. So that is also wide open. So to me, Reed has unlimited potential in terms of just being on the field and being able to see this guy, which for a late second round pick is kind of what you want, to be able to make a decision on him after year one. So that's kind of where I'm at with Reed. Like, it's blowing my mind that he's going so late, even in the 3rd round in some leagues. So that was kind of all I had on him. Did you have any thoughts on Reed?
No, I mean, he's the guy that like he just looked like a solid wideout on tape, and so it's kind of looked like his best days were ahead of him. So
yeah,
the fact that he's like automatically the number 3 on this offense that we have no idea what it's really going to look like.
No idea.
Could be amazing, man. And I've hinted that I think he's a threat to Romeo a little bit,
Yeah,
just because he's got the
absolutely.
skills. So
Hmm.
I'm with you all the way on that.
Oh hell yeah. All right, let's go Packers hype train.
Whew.
So then do you have any let's go tight ends?
Okay, I do. I do have a tight end. I've
Let's
got
go.
my second rounder is a tight end, and
Okay,
he's
second
going
second.
off. Yeah, he's on the 2-8 according to Fantasy Pros, and it's Sam Laporta.
Love
Um,
it.
yeah, he's a guy I'm a huge fan of coming out of Iowa. He was the third drafted tight end in this class and went off at the 2-3, which is pretty good draft capital,
Hmm.
for a tight end. And I've been kind of looking, I like to look back at history a little bit. And I'm a little surprised to see that guys getting drafted in this range are getting about 30 to 50 targets as a rookie.
Hmm.
So that's all right.
Yeah.
But with him, I really do think that he has a better chance of going far above that. Um, and the reason for that is we all know the Detroit situation. I won't
Mm.
get into it just yet, but a little bit about the Sam Laporta situation is that the guy had above a 90th percentile speed with a
Mm.
4.59
Mm.
real quick. And he actually lined up out wide uh, at Iowa 21.5% of his routes last year. So
Damn.
that's like, yeah, when you're a tight end playing a fifth of your snaps on the outside, that means that you could be easily slotted into that role. I know I'm gonna do this all off season, but I'm gonna compare him to Dalton Kincaid, who
Ooh.
everyone's calling a wide receiver. Um, yeah, that's more than double of what he had. He only had 10% out wide, although Kincaid have a lot more slot snaps
Mm.
than Laporta. So
Gotcha.
just saying, for all the people who are excited about Kincaid, you should also be excited about Laporta because he's stepping into this Detroit offense that I mean, they're kicking ass.
Hmm.
Their defense sucks, right? They had the third most points allowed last year, but they were a top five scoring offense. And they didn't do much this offseason to make it seem like they wanted to address the defensive weaknesses on their team.
Hmm.
Uh, they mostly just leaned heavily into wanting to be a extremely productive offense by taking, Gibbs at was that the 10th pick overall,
12th, I think. Yeah.
12th, and then yeah, going right back to the top tight end there in the second round. It's like obviously they want to go that route and let Jared Goff just go off. So I look for him to really be able to contribute. That's high draft capital. You got Jamison Williams. He's got the suspension. There's not a lot on this team going on besides Amon-Ra St. Brown. We're still working with, Marvin Jones Jr. and
Hmm.
then Josh Reynolds is in there, and it's not pretty. There's no one really stopping him from stepping up and just being a monster. Um, I'm not gonna lie, there are some concerns like Hawkinson. He was only really averaging like 6 targets a game and 50 yards a game
Mm.
before he went to Minnesota last year. And then everyone got a little excited about Brock Wright. But
Yeah.
he actually he only had more than 2 targets in 3 games last year,
Mm.
right? So you're a little bit scared of the lack of tight end success on the Lions, but I think Laporta is a different kind of guy. He was leading Iowa in targets and yards for the past couple of years. So he knows what it's like to be like, the go to guy for an offense. And I think
Hmm.
there's so much need that it has to be him. I mean, basically the thing is, he's gonna be getting a massive target share in this offense. No one else is going to be out there on the field to stop him. And if he's going at the 2-8, it's insane value. And I can't believe people are sleeping on him this hard. So I'm stoked about it, man. I think I need to figure out a way to get him in on my roster. In college he had 6 yards after the catch
Mm.
per catch.
Per catch. Yeah. That's
So,
awesome. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think it's cool that he's going in the second round. Especially it's a really, really deep tight end class. And I like that he's getting
mhm.
acknowledged as one of the top guys because he should be. And you're right. Like there's nobody in there really for Detroit to really give him any problems from winning that job.
Yeah, buddy. Plus, it's kind of like a homegrown Detroit team anyway, where you can just get in there. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, just get in there
Let's
and
go
make
bite
shit
some
happen.
kneecaps.
That's right, man. You'll be a contributor for day one. So, okay. All right. Well, let's see. I'm going to ask you, do you have any running backs?
I do have a running back. It's one you've heard me talk about a lot, and he goes in the first round, the tail end of the first round, according to Fantasy Pros, at the 112. It's Kendre Miller.
Ooh,
It's crazy to me that Kendre Miller is going so late. I want him more than A Chain by a significant margin, to be
sure.
honest. And I'm starting to kind of waffle between him and Charbonnet. I'm starting to
Mm,
really, really push for him. Like, just not necessarily player wise, like Charbonnet is a hell of a player, and I love him as like a consistent running back, but just like the Walker and the Seattle of it all, just like that is less appealing to me than New Orleans. And I know you may be saying, but whoa, Kamara, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, Kamara A might get suspended.
sure.
B, it will be 28 before the start of this season, which we all know that's like 27 is the age of fall off for running backs who've been following RDR. And oh, lo and behold, he also has an out on his contract after this season for 2024. So most likely gone at the end of this year, if not earlier. He could even get traded or suspended significantly. Jamal Williams,
Mm,
who is also 28, lest
yeah,
anyone forget, just because he's only risen in popularity the last couple two or 3 years. Like he's not a young guy. And the Saints only paid him 3 years, $12 million. So they don't see him as the long-term answer. And not only that, Williams, every step of his career has been part of a running back by committee, which is
right.
fine. He's excelled in it. He's taken over as the lead guy sometimes, but he's always been in a committee. So at some point, Miller's going to see the field at like he's just going to. And I just think his play style fits really, really nicely in with the Saints. Last season, the Saints only targeted running backs 107 times, which was still over 100, but was down from their previous years. We all watched the Saints last season. That offense was completely inept at times. They had Andy Dalton and various other characters leading the offense, and it didn't really go well. The previous 5 years, so 2017 to 2021, the Saints were top five in targets for running backs. Every single through that stretch, every single year, they were at least top five. In 2017, they were first with 179, which
Jesus.
obviously was the Sean Payton years, which word up Javonte Williams. Let's go. Comeback season. Let's do it. Secondly, I see those numbers coming back this season. Like it's not like, yeah, Sean Payton's not there. Okay, but it's Dennis Allen, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know why I had a brain fart so right there. Dennis Allen is from the Sean Payton tree, so I think he wants to target it. So not only that, we have the New Orleans Saints way, but look at Derek Carr even. As as of before the 2022 season, Derek Carr targeted his running backs 23.2% of the time. That
Mm,
was fifth most among active quarterbacks at the time. In 2022, Derek Carr threw of 502 passes, 111 of them were to running backs or 22%. So it barely went down from 23% last season. Now he's going on to a team in the Saints that loves throwing the ball to running backs. He also loves throwing the ball to running backs. It just seems like a match made in heaven. So, okay, then you say, well, Miller didn't really get a ton of work in college. Okay, yeah, that's fair. He only had 16 catches last season with 2 drops. That's not great when you're only getting 16 catches. However, TCU didn't really throw the ball that much, and specifically not towards the running backs.
no.
So I think when he was given the opportunity, he looked all right in the passing game. He looked pretty good. He can probably clean up the hands a little bit, but that he's got a little time to sit behind Kamara and Jamal Williams potentially and lean on that. Um, I just think his play style fits really well for what they want. His elusiveness, his flexibility, and his burst out in the kind of spread passing game that they might want to use for him. I think he can immediately slide into that Kamara role and maybe not be as good as Kamara necessarily. Couple downsides with him. A, you might have to wait on him, and you're taking him in the first round, so you may want him to come right away, but you will have to wait most likely. And the Saints have already come out and said they plan to take it easy with him because of the meniscus injury he had at the end of the year. So that's not a great sign. However, I will end on this, a quote from the man himself, Kendre Miller.
Oh,
How they use Kamara in the pass game. That's pretty cool. I feel like I can step in and pretty much do the same thing. So he's already planning on it. Everybody should be all on board. I'm looking into ways to try and trade for him. I just don't have the ammo. And I would legitimately look into like trading Austin Eckler or somebody of that value for Kendre Miller. Probably not straight up, but if you had to do it, I'd be tempted. I'm all in on Kendre Miller. I think he's going to be great. And I'm kind of sad I didn't get him.
oof. Yeah, heartbreak, man. I mean, you summed it up so well there. Miller's a stud and better like him better than Charbonnet, and that's 100% to do with the landing spot, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, sky's the limit, and I don't say that too often these days. So
It's a little
you're right.
burned.
Yeah, yeah. There's no way that yeah, that Williams is gonna keep him off the field. So
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, and I'm really excited about it. So let's go. He was one of my boys at the beginning of the year. On that note, though, do you have any receivers?
sure enough, I sure do.
Oh shit.
So
Here we
we're
go.
gonna just yeah, I hope you guys because I'm going with Quentin Johnston. So
Ooh.
keeping the TCU train just rolling, dude. But yeah, he's going off at the 105, right? So he's a pretty hot commodity, but I think he deserves to be just that hot. He's drafted as the 21st player off the board in the NFL draft, and what can I tell you? He's playing with the Chargers, right? And if you think about the Chargers, you think about oh, so many things. You think about Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert, man. So Justin Herbert threw for over 500 completions last year, which was third in the league. And he was also third in the league in attempts. So if you're looking at opportunity, there's no more, like, you can't hardly find an offense where the ball's going through the air more than this offense. So
That's true.
that's great. That's great if you're looking for someone to cash in on. So I'm looking over the past 10 years, as I sometimes do. Thank you, Stathead, for everything. um, and so I'm looking at first round wide receivers that have played at least 14 games during their rookie year. And those 20 players in the sample size are averaging 109 targets a year.
Ooh, okay.
And yeah, and it's a little bit spread out. Like, you know, you got your Jamar Chases in there, really up in the number, but there were only 3 of them that were under 80 targets. So it's pretty much a high volume guarantee when you look at the offense and you look at the kind of the history that goes into it. And you know, I hear you. I hear all you people talk about Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and the beautiful things that they can do for Mr. Justin Herbert. But I want to talk to you guys about those 2 players. First off, you have Mike Williams, right? He's 28, right? And he's coming off of a little bit of an injured year. He's not that injury prone, guys. He doesn't miss as much time as we all think these Chargers guys miss so much time. It's not really the case when you look at the numbers. But one thing that is the case with them is they get paid very well. Mike Williams is on a 3-year, $60 million deal, which has an out after this coming season. Keenan Allen, right? 31 years old right now. He is on a 4-year, $20 million contract that has an out after this season.
Hmm.
So we're looking at cap hits of 32 and 34 million next year for either of these guys. And I'm looking at an extension going to Justin Herbert. So I'm adding dollars up and I'm thinking about all these things. They go after a wide receiver in the first round and Quentin Johnston. And there's no world where all these guys are on the same team after 2023.
No way.
And so here's what I think. You got to go all in. You got to see what you have with Quentin Johnston. That way, you know what you can do going forward. If he can replace Mike Williams' production, boom, that's an easy transition. But the only way you find out what kind of potential he has is by keeping him on the field and feeding him the ball pretty much constantly. So that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. He doesn't on paper have the best opportunity because he's going to a team that is pretty much fully established and is returning all of its pass catchers from last year. But future wise, 2024, you're looking at a guy who could easily be the go-to outside receiver for long-term Justin Herbert. You know what I mean? Who is a pretty spicy quarterback if you get down into the numbers. And if you look at Quentin Johnson, what he did over his 3 years with TCU, he's averaging 19 yards per catch. It kind of fits really closely into what Justin Herbert really needs on his team. Also, you've got the third best vert in broad jump, so super athletic guy. I'm not going to lie to you guys and tell you that he didn't have a 14% drop rate in 2022. He has room for improvement, but I think that getting to a pro style offense with a new coordinator, Kellen Moore, in the house is just going to lend itself to, improving the pass game. Really, what they've wanted to do all these years is get Justin Herbert like to the maximum of his potential, and getting him a first round wideout is part of that. So I'm telling you guys, you're looking at a killer combo right here, and you want a piece of this. Josh Palmer last year led the wide receiver room in targets with 103. As I mentioned, there was a little bit of injury stuff that may not stick, but one thing you should know is that 75% of his targets came from the outside, and that is exactly what Quentin Johnston's going to do. He is not going to play the slot. He's going to be on the outside, so he could easily walk in and say, "Hey, Josh Palmer, let me take this one and just mop up triple-digit targets by replacing what is the third guy on the depth chart, right?"
Yeah.
Keenan Allen's still going to get his slot snaps. And man, I think there's a potential for Quentin Johnson to develop into like a top 15 wideout.
Oh, early.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So maybe not his rookie year, but I think like just pairing him up with Justin Herbert long term is what I'm really looking at. When I went to the contract and I saw how how desperately they're going to need to cut their losses with whatever Keenan Allen for 34 million a year when he's 32 years old. Just all this just made it seem like they're going to have to lean into Johnston, and that's going to mean fantasy points, man.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. I've been pretty vocal. I'm not the most large Johnson fan. That was a weird way to say that. But got it out there. But no, you're absolutely right. I mean, his high end is replacing like Mike Williams, but being like the top tier version of that. To me, his floor is being kind of around Mike Williams, which isn't terrible. It's just a little inconsistent and not as not really what I'd be looking for necessarily out of a wide receiver, but like that ceiling is really, really fun and really impressive.
Yeah. I think we're going to see it, man. I think it's going to happen quick.
Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Let me see. Do you have any tight ends?
I do. Last one. I guess it's easy to play Go Fish when we all pick one of each. Well, I guess I don't know what you picked, but I picked one of each. But Let's get into it. So this is the third round, tail end of the third round again. ADP on Fantasy Pros of the 311. And this one really genuinely is wild to me. It's Luke Schoonmaker, Dallas Cowboys tight end. Um, I like Jake Ferguson as much as anyone, but like this is a competition that Luke Schoonmaker immediately walks into and could easily end up the starter day one. Like he could. I'm not saying he will, but he absolutely could. He was a second round pick for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So he has the draft capital. He has the measurables. He was 85th on the 85th percentile on the 40, 4.63, 88th percentile in speed score, 88th percentile in burst score, 94th percentile in agility score, 90th percentile in catch radius. So,
Hmm.
okay, pretty good start, fairly good capital, fairly good whatever. Okay, well, what team does he play on? Does he have a quarterback that wants to throw to tight ends? Okay. Well, in games that Dak Prescott played this season, the tight end one averaged almost 7 targets a game. That was this past season. In seasons where Dak has played a full workload, he's gotten Jason Witten's great grandpa over 30 targets twice. He's also gotten Dalton Schultz to be the tight end three with 104 targets in 2021. And it was second on the team that year, by the way. So we have an athletic tight end who was taken in the second round, who has a realistic chance to be on the field regularly in week one, if not the starter by week one, with a quarterback with a reasonably high success rate with tight ends. And yet, this guy is the last pick of the third round almost. Like, we're taking all kinds of chances on all these other guys, and this guy's just sitting here, like potentially starting day one. Danny and I got Luke Musgraves and Luke Schoonmaker in the fourth round of a tight end premium league.
Oh,
Like,
Jesus.
what are we doing? Like, both those guys are gonna have opportunities to see the field, just like I was talking about with Jaden Reed earlier. They are gonna have opportunities to see the field. They're gonna get chances. And now you just took in the 311 spot a pick that you could easily waste every single year. You took a guy who, again, you're going to be able to see a lot of this year and be able to make a decision on whether or not you want to use him going forward. Now, who knows? We may not see anything of him, but like I'm willing to take a chance on Dak Prescott's tight end one because that dude usually ends up getting quite a bit of work.
Yeah, it's kind of a go-to slot, man. I mean, I couldn't believe when they just let Dalton Schultz just go, but
Yeah.
you're right. It if you're getting the next Dalton Schultz at the 311, then you're basically getting a fucking steal, man. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for it. Okay. Fuck
Well,
yeah.
do you
Yeah,
have any running backs then?
I do. I do.
Oh, nice.
Yes, nailed it. Also my third round
Mm,
pick, and he's got the ADP one spot above Schoonmaker, and
okay.
that's Eric Gray.
I like
So
it.
yeah, he is coming at you strong from the New York Giants. He was a fifth round draft pick, and yeah, I don't know if you guys are very familiar with him. He started out at Tennessee and then he ended up at Oklahoma. He's not that fast. His first score is okay. He's not like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that he's not. There's a few things that he is. He's the fourth best graded um, receiving running back
Mm,
in this draft class. So I don't know if you guys knew that. PFF coming at you strong. Um, he also, produced pretty heavily. Had actually 229 receiving yards the past two seasons. So combining for 56 catches over those 2 years. So I'm looking at that, and that's pretty cool when you're on the New York Giants because you're playing with Saquon Barkley, who is leading his team, in targets basically. So if
mm.
you can supplement that skill set, um, yeah, it'd be pretty cool. The thing is with Saquon is The guy's played only 2 full seasons in his 5 years in the NFL. Of course, last season was one of those seasons. So um, maybe people are being optimistic. I don't know if I'd go that far. It almost seems like him playing a full season is all that more of an indication that it might be a limited year for Saquon this year. Um, so if I'm thinking about all that, and I'm looking at the depth chart here, you got Matt Breida and Gary Brightwell,
Mm.
as well as Eric Gray. And I know Eric Gray's got a little bit of pop, man. He had a good Senior Bowl. Like people are into him. People
Yeah.
like him. Um, so I'm looking back at 2021 when Saquon only played 13 games, and yeah, they were sharing the backfield with yeah, Devonta Booker, who
Mm.
got 145 carries
Nice.
and 45 targets that year. So if you're looking at that, I kind of get a little bit excited. I think he could probably fill that role pretty easily. I'm not really too scared about Matt Breida still being on the team. It's his second year with the Giants. He had only 54 carries last year. So for me, this is about the fact that you could get like one of the best running back in the NFL's handcuffs, semi-injury prone on a team that I've mentioned is kind of on the safer side. They would rather use a lesser running back than to adapt their game to, be more of a passing offense because Daniel Jones may not be that guy.
Mm.
So that's why I'm looking at Eric Gray as someone with a lot of potential in the right circumstance. And then you also have the fact that Saquon is going after a contract extension or a new contract because he's on the tag right. And so he's not at OTAs.
Mm.
And so there's an opportunity for Eric Gray to, you know, develop himself to a higher degree, maybe getting more reps with the first team through OTAs and everything like that because of Saquon holding out at the moment to try to get that contract done. So all these things kind of add up to maybe not like a golden opportunity or like someone you think is gonna win you your fantasy league. But when it comes to those late third round picks, like you're saying, you could be getting you could be getting DJ Dallas or anything.
Hmm.
But if you're going for Saquon's backup in an offense that is going to definitely go through the running back, and the opportunity is there, man. There's not a lot of super successful fifth round backs over the past couple of years, but Kenneth Gainwell, Jordan Howard, these are some of the guys that we're looking at. So it's not unheard of for a fifth round guy to get a little bit of play
Yeah.
unexpectedly.
Even if the guy at the 310 only gives you a few weeks of starting caliber play, but if he comes in clutch for you, then that's exactly what the third round was kind of for. Like obviously everybody wants to hit all these like home runs in the third round. That's just not really going to happen. If you can find a guy who you can throw in and help your roster and help it be more help it be a deeper, more complete roster, then that's exactly what you're looking for out of these third round guys. And so I'm right there with you, man. Like Eric Gray makes a lot of sense. Saquon is are like not happy with the contract situation. Like we're in a new NFL. Motherfuckers get traded all the time. Like it happens. So I don't know, man. Like I holding on to these guys, like I'm not the biggest like handcuff guy necessarily in the world, but
Mm-mm.
when it's an injury prone guy who's also in a contract situation, okay, yeah, like give me that guy, especially in a PPR league with a really good receiving back. So,
Heck yeah, especially you look at the third round, you got like, Evan Hall and Deuce Vaughn and it's real Bandicanda. Like I'd rather be getting a backup to Saquon,
then
a
Brees
26
Hall.
year old than like a 22-year-old guy.
Yeah,
So
100%.
so especially this the contract turmoil and everything else. So
Yeah.
Whew.
Well, that was it. That was our quick episode. We're still working on some things, fixing the podcast without AJ taking the reins for us. So that's still been a little bit of a learning curve. So thank you all for bearing with us through all of that. But it seems like we're getting there, putting out some what we think is good content. So
Hey.
hopefully you guys are enjoying it.
Yeah, and if you
Um,
guys ever want to get involved, I think I've been kind of cataloging a few fan questions. We could have I'd love to do a Q&A episode if anyone
that would
out
be
there
fun.
wants to hit us up and toss the question out there.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And if you're watching on the video on YouTube, obviously you'll see all our socials up above us right here, and our Twitters down below us right here. And you can follow us on any of that. And please like, share, and subscribe. But other than that, we have been Rough Draft Research. You have been the audience. And we will see you guys next week. I'm gonna get that outro right one of these times.
Happy message got across, man. Basically saying good night.